Nicknamed the Sphere, this structure was designed by artist Fritz Koenig and once stood between the World Trade Towers in Manhattan. Koenig made the structure in Bavaria, where the Illuminati were founded by Adam Weishaupt in 1776. The World Trade Center Plaza itself was intended by its designer, Minoru Yamasaki, to be a representation of the Grand Mosque at Mecca. The sphere stood in for the Kaaba, a black cuboid-shaped object. The sphere itself was set to rotate every 24 hours. In the processional ritual at Mecca, the Muslims walk around the Kaaba 7 times. The 7 veils of Isis around a black cube, which is a symbol of Saturn, gives us another 7/4 fraction. The idea behind encircling the Kaaba counterclockwise 7 times is to break free of the boundaries of time and space and touch God, so to speak, or you could say higher consciousness. Remember also that the planet Saturn has 7 rings around it. Within the Kaaba at Mecca, there is on the southeastern corner a black stone which is believed by Muslims to be a meteorite, and this meteorite was said to have fallen at the times of Adam and Eve. A theory that has been put forward by Ralph Ellis is that the black stone is in fact the Benben stone, which is a square-shaped platform upon which was set the chief cornerstone. This Benben stone, which means sunstone, was the stone on which the phoenix bird would land after flight. The phoenix bird itself is a symbol of the sun and of death rebirth, and is thus interchangeable with the chief cornerstone, the number 13, Jesus, Horus, and any other symbol for illumination. So, since it is likely that the black stone was in fact the Benben, we have a direct link from the chief cornerstone to the sphere in between the twin towers. As far as the circling of the Kaaba at Mecca goes, it is also likely that this ritual originated at the Giza Pyramid, and since the Kaaba and the sphere at the World Trade Center are interchangeable, we have yet another link of the pyramid to the sphere. So the sphere itself was made of 52 pieces of bronze, which is a multiple of course of 13, and there are 52 weeks in an Earth year. The fact that it is bronze connects it even further with Jachin and Boaz, as they too were made out of bronze. Also, Jachin and Boaz, or the Gate as they are sometimes referred to as, stood outside Solomon's temple, which was designed as the male within the female. As for the sphere, you will find that it resonates with the pyramid, and yet again, as the pyramid encodes pi and Earth's measurements. So, before we continue, just a big thank you to the makers of the film Do You Believe in Magic for bringing this following information to light. On the Kabbalistic tree of life, we have 3 pillars. On one side, severity, and on the other side, mercy, and in the centre, equilibrium. So, the north and the south towers on the World Trade Center were Jachin and Boaz, and in between Jachin and Boaz, we have a black cube or chief cornerstone resonating sphere called the Great Spherical Caryatid, designed by Fritz Koenig in Bavaria, home of the Illuminati. So, what exactly is a caryatid? Well, the answer is plain and simple. A caryatid is a replacement pillar or column. So, now the third pillar has been revealed, and we've established that the sphere is the middle pillar, both in the Kabbalah and seen depicted on the first degree tracing board. We can seal the deal and even further confirm this, as the sphere is made of 52 pieces of bronze, and there are 52 weeks in an Earth year. The sphere rotated once every 24 hours, and of course, Earth, need I even say it, rotates full circle every 24 hours. So, why is this relevant? Well, quite simply because on the Kabbalistic tree of life, the Earth rules the 10th Sephirah, which is located smack at the bottom of the third pillar. This 10th Sephirah is known as Malkuth, and in Kabbalah, the 10th Sephirah, located at the bottom of the middle pillar, resonates with the first Sephirah at the very top of the middle pillar, known as Kepha, and ruled over by the planet Pluto. Both Kepha, top, and Malkuth, bottom, are known by Kabbalists to be one and the same. That is to say, Malkuth is in Kepha, and Kepha is in Malkuth. or more simply, as above, so below. So, on the subject of the 10th Sephirah, Malkuth is known as the kingdom, and within Malkuth, or the kingdom, is the gate. This gate is the gate to the path ruled over by the World Tarot card, and the World Tarot card is in turn ruled over by the planet Saturn. Once again, Saturn and the sphere structure formerly stood between the twin towers are connected undeniably. So, what is the relevance of the World Tarot card ruled by Saturn? Well, this is the story given for the card. The Fool turns to take the final step along his final path and finds to his bemusement that he is right back where he started, at the edge of the very same cliff that he almost stepped over when he was young and too foolish to look where he was going. But now he sees his position very differently. He thought that he could separate body and mind and learn all about one and leave it to learn about the other. But in the end, it is all about self, mind, body, past and future, the individual and the world. All one as above, so below, and all opposites are each other, including the Fool and the Mystic, who are both doorways to the secrets of the universe. With a knowing smile, the Fool takes the final step right off the cliff and soars higher and higher until the whole world is his to see, and there he dances, surrounded by a yoni of stars, at one with the universe, ending, in a sense, where he began. Beginning again at the end, the world turns and the Fool's journey is complete. Interestingly, the theme of the card seems yet again to be a rebirth of sorts, like the Death Tarot card, a message of your beginning being your end, like the Ouroboros serpent that swallows its own tail. So, there you go. There were 7 World Trade Center buildings within the plaza. According to NASA's website, there are 7 rings around the planet Saturn. The spherical caryatid that sat between the North and the South World Trade Center Twin Tower buildings is a representation of the black cuboid-shaped Kaaba at Mecca. Black cubes, squares, are symbolic of the planet Saturn. Astrologically speaking, Saturn was in mid-Gemini during 9/11. Gemini is the symbol for twins. Also, going back to the Kaaba, the Muslims circle it 7 times. Saturn was also in the exact same spot in Gemini on April 4th, 1973, when the World Trade Center ribbon cutting ceremony took place. The 7th building of the World Trade Center Plaza was the Salomon Brothers building. The occult symbol for the planet Saturn is the Seal of Solomon. Saturn, amongst other meanings in the occult, is known as gateway to the gods and dweller on the threshold. The association between what happened on the morning of 9/11 and a gateway involving the planet Saturn is so prominent that it's becoming ridiculous. And the similarities continue, as Manly Palmer Hall tells us in the Nuremberg Chronicle of 1498, which is the first encyclopedia. There is a picture of the universe as it was to the people of that time, depicted as a series of interrelating circles that were concentric, like a bullseye. The Earth was in the centre, and around the Earth, in rings, were the orbits of the 7 planets at that time, 5 of which were actual planets. The Chinese had the same design, but instead used squares and triangles. This target motif-like system began from Earth, on which a ladder ascended into the extremities of the solar system, which was to these people the 7th planet, Saturn. Above Saturn were the heavenly realms, or the abodes of deities. Therefore, there were in all 7 rings emanating from Earth, representing the orbits of each of the 7 celestial bodies. This target-like device led to Pythagoras discovering the octave, or the mystery of musical harmony. Also, he discovered that by stretching a thread or a cord from the face of the Earth to the upper orbit of Saturn, he created a cosmic musical instrument. This has been reproduced by Robert Fludd, a Rosicrucianist of the 17th century, who then took this design and laid it on the human body. Fludd came to the conclusion that the 7-fold division of Pythagoras was equally accurate when applied to the human being, not only in his composition, but his physical body. Through this system of 7 came the 7 deadly sins, the 7 cardinal virtues, and the palette of 7 colours. In the ancient Egyptian mystery schools, the initiate would advance in 7 stages, at each stage learning to overcome the negative attributes of the planet, representing each stage or rung of the ladder. For example, we would learn the difference between love and lust, how to use knowledge as opposed to abuse it, and the difference between education and knowledge. The concept continued in Babylonia. The goddess Ishtar descended through the 7 gates in order to rescue Attis or Adonai. Muhammad ascended a ladder 7 rungs to the uppermost, and at each of the 7 gates there was a guard that was one of the patriarchs of the Old Testament, or at least 6 of the gates, because at the 7th there was Christ, or higher consciousness. John of the Bible had a similar 7-stage journey. There are 7 chakras, the 7 days of creation, 7 days in a week. The Bible told us that we would live 70 years, and when it came time to translate the Old Testament, Isaiah selected 70 elders to do so. The first translation was called the Septuagint, or the work of the 70, and the word sept is from the Latin septem, which means 7, and Septimus means the 7th. So interesting to see then that the month September was in fact the 7th month of the Roman calendar until 153 BC, when there was a calendar reform from the month of the Ides of March to the calends of January the 1st. September marks the beginning of the ecclesiastical year in the Eastern Orthodox Church. September begins on the same day of week as December every year because there are 91 days separating September and December, which is a multiple of 7. With this in mind, 9/11 could, on another level, be interpreted as 7/11, and on a day so steeped in the symbolism of Saturn, the 7th planet, this can hardly be ignored or taken lightly. Moving back on to the subject of the 7-rung ladder to ascension, each of these 7 rungs is represented by its corresponding planet, and as I touched on earlier, overcoming the negative attributes of these planets is required for each of the steps before advancing to the next. The planets, or the celestial bodies of each of the 7 rungs, are as follows. Step 1 is the moon, and this step represents purification. Step 2 is Mercury. This step represents communication. Step 3 is Venus. This step represents emotion. Step 4 is the Sun, which represents life, giving and contribution to external growth. Step 5 is Mars, and this step represents competition. Step 6 is Jupiter. This step represents judgment. And then we have step 7, which is of course Saturn. This step represents balance and great wisdom. Beyond Saturn lies higher consciousness, so it is clear then that the true purpose of this system, or the 7-runged Jacob's ladder, is to better oneself spiritually before advancing to each new stage. Advancing the ladder without first overcoming these negative attributes, as the mystery schools required, is not the right way to go and potentially dangerous.